Super.
Oh, we are back. Sorry, I was like stalled out. I was reading something and then I didn't realize.
Oh,
the video.
sure, you were reading
we're on.
something.
Oh, wow.
Wait, are we
I
talking
failed
about
as a host.
games?
Oh man, this is the internet's only podcast when we're actually talking and not zoned out reading other things. All right. Well, I am your mostly reviled, it sounds like, tonight's host here, Jank the Despised One, also known as Josh Peterson, as I was given the name at birth. And I'm joined here by who is this young boy down there beneath the on the bottom of the screen here? If you're watching video, if you're watching audio, that just sounds weird. But
Well, yeah, if you're watching audio, then yeah, I'm the lovable baby boy Brank. If you're reading video, then you need to be using your futuristic book to start looking me up. Okay, I'm still lovable baby boy Brank, but at that point, I'll be a superstar, a mega star, because it's the future where you're reading videos. So yes, I am he. And G, lovable baby boy Brank, and I'm back from the day I'm ready to break some bread for a podcast. That's what I do every week.
And if you're joining us in virtual reality, to my right here, you'll see left, I think, here, a man who needs no introduction, Gerald Glassford. What's up, man?
Well, I mean, you're seeing it from your left, but it actually, if they're seeing it's to their right.
I know. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, just go give him a hug, okay, Jank? I mean, you can reach right through your screen, okay? Just go like, see how it goes.
Oh, that's hard to do. I can't do that. Yeah, there you go.
Who's touching my ear?
Yes, absolutely. No, it's great to be here, guys. Talking some video games, getting closer to the All Hallows Eve. So looking forward to getting some Dragon Age Veilguard. Take a look at that.
Yeah,
I've been watching a lot of videos on that.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. It's been quite the topic of controversy online here. But first,
Really?
yeah, but I mean,
we'll get into it.
We'll get there. But Branky, you've been playing some Call of Duty. I heard you say before we went on the air here. Tell me about your little your trip into Call of Duty.
Back in the Cold War, the 90s, bro, which is way after the Cold War. I've started the campaign. I'm 2 missions in. Campaign is great. Like a lot of the Call of Duty recent campaigns that I've played, they're just very fun, super big budget blockbusters that are, I guess, like 5 or 6 hours to beat. I've heard this one, some people say, is one of the best they've ever made. So I'm like pretty excited for that. But I can't pull myself away from the multiplayer. It's just too much fun. I've never been a zombies guy, and I don't even think I'll get into zombies with how much fun I'm having with the multiplayer right now. And with Nuketown coming out shortly after this podcast releases, like, it's just hard to imagine pulling myself away till I at least get to Prestige once. It really is one of the better Call of Duties. I mean, it's hard for me to say that. I don't want to be hyperbolic, though, because Modern Warfare 2 that came out, not the original, which is also great, but the Modern Warfare 2 that came out 2 years ago was also phenomenal, and I had a ton of fun playing that. I didn't buy Modern Warfare 3 because of the reviews, but when it came to Game Pass, I played that, and it was a lot of fun. I just feel like Call of Duty has nailed what they do, which is iterative gameplay, and for me, somebody who's going to play it for a month, 2 months, it's perfect. Right? It's just a fun dive into this thing where I'm leveling up the guns and I'm leveling up all the characters and I'm getting the different unlocks. And there's just every time you play, it feels like you're doing something different. So yeah, I mean, or not doing something different in terms of like it's always shooting, but you're always getting something new after and rewarded after every match. I really dig it.
Do you feel like there's a big variety of like game types to play? I mean, do you feel like some are worth playing and others aren't, or how would you describe the multiplayer?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say. If you haven't played a recent Call of Duty, then I'll try to keep it brief. Multiplayer is as customizable as you want it to be. There are, I think, 9 game modes at launch, slightly less than the Modern Warfare 2 remake, if you want to call it, or the reimagining that came out a couple years ago. There's no like Ground War, which had 16 on 16 combat, which was a lot of fun. I'm a little bit bummed they took that out. But there's still search and destroy, hard point domination, kill confirm, team deathmatch, what is it? Free for all. And they have a bunch of others. But one of the things they do wisely is at the click of X, you can choose which type of modes you want to play. So for me, I only like playing team deathmatch and kill confirmed. So I have only those two selected. So I'm not going to be in search and destroy or hardpoint or any of the other modes that I'm not interested in. For like, just real quick to talk about the game in terms of like value, it's an insane proposition. I mean, I paid nothing extra for it because I'm a member of Game Pass. So I just downloaded it and am playing it, which is insane. But even as a $70 title, the idea that you're getting what is now at this point like world-class multiplayer plus what is supposed to be one of the best first-person shooter single-player campaigns released in a long time, because we just don't get these anymore. And then from what I understand about zombies, a really, really incredible zombies mode, it's kind of mind-blowing. You kind of understand how it's the juggernaut it is, right? They've been to this well so many times and they're so good at it. I get how gamers could be over it, but yeah. Anyways, that's enough of me blathering on. If you got any questions, let me know. But yeah, it's really, really good.
No, you're good. I mean, it sounds like you could almost like break the content in this game up to like 3 separate games if you
could. Yeah, I mean, if Microsoft or whoever would have been greedy, and I think they tried doing that, Gerald or someone can back me up. They had a zombies single physical release that I think was 3 games, zombies modes compiled in one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, zombies is its own thing. Like, you could easily have, and I think it was like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4 or Black Ops 5, or maybe all 3 of those had movie stars playing the different characters that you could choose to play as, right? For the zombies matches. So, I mean, there's just so much. It's hard to think of this. Like, gamers, I feel like, complain about Call of Duty.
Hold on one second.
Okay, no worries. Well, we're going to keep talking.
Yeah, you keep talking, my friend.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold up. I'm not going to hold this train, okay? Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of complaints on the internet about Call of Duty. I don't know if you feel the same way, Gerald, but I feel like every year people complain about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win either which way. I will say for me, though, last year's Modern Warfare 3, I tried to get through it on Game Pass. I couldn't. It was
the campaign or the multiplayer?
Campaign. It was just too meandering. I could not get into it. But I am excited. I'm excited for this one. I've heard nothing but good reviews personally. I mean, there's always going to be blowback from the community as far as something's not right here. You cannot make everyone happy. I learn this every day running all these channels. You just cannot make everyone happy.
Unless you're Concord. I mean, we just want to throw that out there. Of course, never won game Concord, so we don't want...
Nobody at Firewalk Studios is happy right now. I'll just say that.
Oh, they're loving Call of Duty Black Ops 6. They love it.
Yeah,
anyways, go ahead.
They got plenty more. Unfortunately, they have plenty more time to play it right now. But yeah, it's just at this point, Call of Duty, it is what it is, like you said. But when they get it down right, they can make an experience that few other video games can match, which is why they still, even to this day, have such a audience that comes back year after year after year. So, I mean, it's because they know what they're going to get when it comes to Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think a lot of the complaint is about the serialization and yearly releases, because a lot of gamers like myself and like Jank and even like yourself, we don't really play Madden or NBA, or maybe I'm wrong. Do you play those games, Gerald?
I play NBA occasionally, but not every year. Madden, I will touch those games I'll touch every 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Depending, but I will not stay with it every single year.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll wait now with the advent of Game Pass, I'll just wait for Game Pass for it.
Yeah.
I'll just wait to get in. And if I play last year's version, oh well, I'm good with that.
Yeah, like I meant to, and I never got the chance, but because EA, whatever the subscription service is called, comes with Game Pass, I downloaded NCAA that came out this year, because I did love the old NCAA games, and it gave you 10 hours of free like playtime, if you will, which would have been more than enough for me. I never even got around to turning it on. Just with this year has been a wealth of games in like an area that I don't think any of us expected, because there weren't like the Tears of the Kingdoms and the other like mammoth games coming out. But between all the great RPGs and all the other titles we've talked about, it really is like, I don't have time to play it, right? And I don't want to like take over this whole conversation, but just so you understand, like, where that gaming time is going. I mean, we talked about Ease 10, Romancing Saga. We've mentioned Visions of Mana, Star Wars Outlaws. And, I mean, Gerald even mentioned Dragon Age coming out like almost immediately after this release. I can't even imagine that because currently I'm still playing Persona 3 Reload on Game Pass, which came out this year, Black Ops 6, both the campaign and the multiplayer, and Metaphor ReFantazio, right? Like those games alone, that's a whole year's worth for most people.
Each. Yeah.
Well, for Metaphor and Persona 3, they're each over 80 hours, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6's campaign is like 5 to 10, but I mean, you could easily drop 100 hours in that multiplayer. I mean, I probably already put in 10 unintentionally just because it's so much fun to pick up and just play one match or two matches, right? And you can like listen to a podcast and just enjoy like the run and gun dumbness of it. Like the one thing that Call of Duty does in some ways a lot better than Halo is because there's no like shields and all the other things you have to think about in Halo. It's really just like a quick, you got five bullets on a guy and they're done. If you get a shotgun shot that's right there, they're done. It's like, it's a pick up, die game. And when you're dying all the time, it's not fun. But when you get those kill streaks where you have a sniper rifle and somebody's running around the corner and then you get the other guy running around the corner and then you get the other guy running around the corner, it feels incredible. And it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, it seems like more of a grounded experience compared to, Halo and some of the other
I loved Halo Infinite multiplayer. I'm not like trying to besmirch it, but I will say it is a lot. It takes a lot more to get me into a Halo game than it does like Call of Duty, because every single firefight, if it's 1-on-1, those alone take a while. But if it's 2-on-1 in Halo, you lose every time, right? Yeah. Like that's kind of how it is. Whereas in Call of Duty, if it's 2-on-1 and they don't see you, you win, right? Like it only takes quarters of seconds to drop enemies. So,
yeah.
Gerald, though, how much of Call of Duty you've been playing? I know you've been all about it.
Yeah, I've been all about it. I'm excited to play it. I've started to download it on it. So in 2 weeks, when I'm ready to go ahead and play and it's finally downloading, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 150 million gigs. So you should... No, it is crazy. I will say, make sure that you check your manager and don't accidentally download all the other Call of Duties with it, because it's 100 gigs just for Black Ops 6. But if you download both Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, and I think Game Pass only has 3, so if you don't own 2, you can't download it.
For now.
But it is I mean, that's 300 gigs for just the modern stuff. And I think you can download Veilguard and all the other ones through the downloader too. I'm not totally sure because I fell off Call of Duty for a while.
Looking forward to get a chance to get into the campaign. I used to be into the multiplayer way back when. I loved the Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer. I mean, I got hooked on that for quite a while, but man, I just, at this point, there's just no learning curve. There's just no chance for someone that's going to come into it cold. And that's what I think it's for future players down the line. I don't know how approachable games that have been around so long like Call of Duty will be, especially in a multiplayer format.
Yeah, I think about that a lot too, because I'm definitely not a great Call of Duty player. I never was, and it's only gotten faster. And I was thinking about that just today, like what happens as I get older if I'm unable to, my reflexes are already going down, right? My reflex time. So it is a weird thing when it comes to Call of Duty. But I will say, I even think if you're not that great at Call of Duty, it's still fun to play the multiplayer. Like, I played Apex Legends for about 3 or 4 years. That was from the creators of the original Call of Duty, Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, Vince Zampella and stuff. They broke off, made Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2. Incredible games. And then they made Apex Legends, right? One of my favorite battle royale and one of my favorite first-person shooters ever. I played it every day for 3 or 4 years. 4 years, yeah. But I will say one of the things that's easier about getting into Call of Duty than a game like that is that game has a long lead time from getting in the drop ship to being able to drop at a spot to finding a gun to firing on an enemy. And then if you lose, you have to do the whole queue to get back in the game again.
This is Apex Legends, right?
This is Apex Legends. Sorry, I'm using this.
I do not like Apex Legends.
Oh, I love it. It is, I think it's one of the best games.
Well, it's fun, but I mean, I've tried it a few times, but it's like you said, like it takes forever to do anything. Like if the game had, it was a a lot faster to start a match, and you respawn a lot faster. Like I'd probably be willing to give it more of a shot, but I've just been frustrated with it. That's why I never really got into it.
Yeah, but to answer or to talk to Gerald's point, right? Hey, Call of Duty, it's a hard learning curve. The one nice thing about it is it's really quick to get in and out. So even if you are just getting destroyed, just log off, turn it back on later. You'll be in a different lobby with a ton of different people. Maybe you'll be fighting worse people. Who knows? They might even have bots in these matches for all I know to make you feel better after a while. Because there's some matches where I'm like, man, I'm just destroying these people. And that's a well-known thing that Fortnite and a lot of their companies do, where they put bots in your first few matches so you feel better, and then as you play the game more and more, you realize oh, these were not real matches.
Delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, people do that, so I wouldn't be surprised if, Call of Duty is a huge developer, if you will, nowadays with Treyarch and Infinity Ward and the whole gang Sledgehammer. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's in there, and who cares, right? I'm having a blast. I don't know the difference. I loved Titanfall and Titanfall 2's multiplayer, and that had NPCs running around the match. I think the only thing I didn't like was it was sometimes hard to know who the NPCs were and who the actual pilots were, because you had to find them and they'd be running around. You'd be like, oh, there's a pilot, I want to shoot him. But you'd also be finding specters and all these other characters on the ground.
Last Call of Duty multiplayer I truly loved was Call of Duty 2, Xbox 360.
Oh, you mean the original Call of Duty 2, right? Not Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, Call of Duty 2. Remember, that was one of the first titles to come out on the 360. I think
it was a launch title. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I sat there and I played online with a couple of the dudes who went to high school with. People chucked those smoke grenades in there, and it's just the whole map was white. You couldn't see anything. You just gotta shoot your gun around and hope you hit somebody.
Yeah, Call of Duty 2 was a lot of fun. It is definitely closer to the old Battlefield games, all of those shooters, right? Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare game, revolutionized first-person shooter games, right? That is still to this day what made the juggernaut, right? Before that, the biggest shooting game was Halo. There wasn't really anything close, right? It was Halo 2. And then Call of Duty took off, and now we're in the world we live in. I personally think they've done a great job. I think Microsoft was really smart to buy Activision Blizzard. I don't know what the numbers are yet in terms of Game Pass subscriptions or sales. I do know it is the top-selling game. It's already in the UK. It already won the top-selling chart because they do a weekly sales chart. I'm sure when we find out October numbers, it's going to be the top-selling game here too. It's a different story whether it's going to sell more or less because of this whole thing. My guess is it would sell less because I might have bought a copy and I won't buy one now. But I think dollars to dollars, it's probably going to do about the same, which is multi-billions of dollars.
But also the idea is how many games, I guess a level of success will be how many Game Pass subscriptions will this sell?
Yeah,
that's something I think that's got to be under consideration as well.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of metrics they're going to use to judge this. I hope they find it successful. I don't think we're going to get a Call of Duty this good again for a while. Like I said, all of them have been relatively good outside of I heard Modern Warfare 3's campaign was atrocious. I played the multiplayer only, and I had a fine time. But Modern Warfare 2, the remake, or reimagining, like I said, I don't even know how to call it because it's not the same storyline as the original Modern Warfare 2. The 2 years ago Modern Warfare 2, it was also great. And the Modern Warfare that came out in 2019, it too was an excellent title. Right. So they've had a slew of very good titles, but it is a thing where it has a lot of decay because you don't want to play the same game every single year over and over and over again and pay for it. However, now that it's part of Game Pass, if you're subscribed, you kind of just get it anyways, right? It'd be it's like those people who subscribe to their phone, right? And they get the new phone every year. I don't know if that's still a thing, but for a long time you could pay an extra fee to essentially lease a phone, and then you get a new phone every year. This is that. It's just way, way, way cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looks really great too. So I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. But
dude, it is stunning. The multiplayer and the campaign specifically. Dude, I honestly, I was blown away after the first mission. You go to an area and they do something I've never had happen in Call of Duty, where you have a story area where there's no fighting, there's no shooting, right? And you can go and explore this area and look for clues and solve puzzles.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's something that everybody should play. The next mission after that is a stealth mission. And their stealth missions nowadays in the Call of Duty is pretty fun. They're actually really well made.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played a campaign since Ghost came out, so I mean, this is.
I've heard that was one of the worst ones too. You really pick them, man.
It was $7 at Target on clearance, man. I grabbed it. I mean, I didn't hate it.
That sucker went clearance like
yeah.
really quick.
Oh
yes.
yeah.
I was so excited for Ghost. I still think that has one of the best trailers like ever. The music swells. It's perfect. It's from the writer of Traffic, right? Like they just, oh man, just you see it and you're like, I want to play this. This looks awesome. And I bought it. I played the multiplayer for about 2 days and I sold my copy. I bought it on eBay for like $45 right when it came out, and I sold it for $40 almost immediately. I didn't even touch the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So, I mean, do we see this being Game of the Year contender at all?
No. But that's only because of my preferences and tastes. Like if this was a different year, or I was like a big first-person shooter guy, and not, I mean, this is a wealth of RPGs, and RPGs were like my favorite genre for a long time. I think they still are for the most part when you think about Elden Ring and Tears of the Kingdom, man. But I mean, just think about the competition real fast. Like you got 7 Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, Persona 3 Reload, Astrobot, which isn't even a JRPG, but still, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I mean, those are just the ones off the top of my head. That doesn't even include like Stellar Blade and a bunch of other titles that I had a blast playing.
I'm actually on the other end of the spectrum. I think it will get consideration because it's so good, and it's clearly one of the best full complete packages of Call of Duty in quite some time.
Good.
I think for that reason alone, it will get strong consideration from certain sites and experiences. I didn't say everyone, but I said certain places. I think Jeff Keighley will be adding it into the mix. I don't know if he'll make it a nominee, but I think it'll, the highlighted stuff, because obviously he wants to, for his video game awards, wants to get it, a good Call of Duty, man, put that front and center right there, or try to, say, hey, okay, maybe it's going to be one of the best games of the year. Try to put that front and center so more eyes will be on his award show. Yeah, I'm not going to say that it's slanted. Ultimately, it's up to the judges that are, whatever games are decided.
They won't vote for it. Most of the judges are like nerdier people. I mean, I listen to a lot of gaming podcasts, and a lot of those people get a vote, and most of them are like, I think Dragon Age, whatever, the Veilguard has a way better Josh. But I also thought that Josh was asking about our own personal Cody's. I didn't realize the remaining Game of the Year from Jeff Keighley.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does appear somewhere on someone's, like rather high up or on their list, because of the fact that it is one of the best Call of Duties in eons.
If we end up doing a Game of the Year this year and we do 10 titles, it will probably be on my top 10 games, only because 10 titles is a lot. We normally do 5 just because, we don't always get to play that many releases that come out each year. But yeah, anyways, great game. Didn't mean to talk about it for 20 minutes, but it's a
Call of Duty, baby.
You got to play it.
Got to get that airtime, man. Well, let's talk for a minute here about Concord. There's some things. Actually, Gerald, real quick, I wanna check in on you. Any progress on Diablo?
No, I only made a little bit more progress. I only played for like another hour after I finished talking with you guys. Got bogged down with doing the shows, and then of course started my mission to download Call of Duty and come back to Game Pass. So I'm looking forward to a good November and especially December, because I'm seeing previews, as I showed you, Josh, before we went on the air, of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which could be my Game of the Year.
I hope it is, Gerald. Gerald, quick question about you and signing up for Game Pass. Are you the type of person who will go and try to get it for cheap? Do you just pay for it? Like, how do you do that? I'm like a very frugal person, so I have like a year and a half, I think, and I've never paid full price for it ever.
Oh, for Game Pass?
Yeah.
Oh, I just use Bing.
Oh, you use the reward points, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I do the same thing too. Okay, I just didn't know because
a crap ton of Bing points. There you go.
Yeah, it is a bummer. They used to make it so much easier to, one, gain a lot of Bing and rewards points, and two,
they limit to like 300 a day. Yes.
Yeah, so it's already become a lot harder. Where I think I'll probably go to CD key style sites to buy my Game Pass subs for way cheaper, and then just use my rewards points to get free games, because I was using that to get like Xbox credit. But yeah, for a long time I did that. It just becomes so, like, to get to 30,000 rewards points, for people who know what that is, it takes so much longer than it used to, and 30,000 points isn't even a $50 credit. So
I'm at 143,000 in our conversation we just had. Now I just added like 50 points because I noticed I hadn't guessed upkeep.
Oh, you didn't do your dailies?
Yeah, I got to keep on the dailies. I've come close to 100. I think the highest I've gotten is like 97.
It's hard because they limit how your searches work. Back when it first came out, you could just search and click and click and click, and immediately it would just upgrade points. 5 points for every click.
Yeah, and you got to do certain things each day, and then I go to where I go to is rewards.bing.com. Yeah, because when you click on those do affect your string. Because once you go on strings on bonuses, they give you bonuses. Like if you go to 45. I mean, if you get to 50, you get a bonus. You get 100, you get a bonus. Stuff like that on top of it. So yeah, all that.
Get on those Microsoft rewards points. Don't be a jank.
Yep, there you go again. Yeah, I cashed in already. So
yeah, don't waste your money like jank.
Hey, no. At the end of the year, I'm always using those sweet Microsoft reward points to cash in on that end of the year game sale. So I always end up getting a few things.
But
plus, I always want to know more about cupcakes.
Yes. I mean, I got deep into it, Gerald, during COVID when I was essentially unemployed. At that time, they had you would get not 1 point. Yeah, 1 point per achievement point, right? So if it was worth 5 points, you got 5 Bing rewards. I almost got to, I think it was up to 10,000 points you could get if you did it in a month. And I was like, I did every single easy 1,000 achievement game that they had on Game Pass and anywhere. It was actually kind of fun. A while later, when I still didn't have as much work as I have now, I was hoping they would do it again just so I could do that, because it was actually a lot of fun to do. Now I don't have time, but that was a ton of fun when they did that. You get up to 10,000 reward points in 1 month doing that, just from that.
Sure, they probably caught on to that. They're like, oh, we're probably losing money on this.
Well, I mean, they used to give away $20 gift cards at the Microsoft Store when they first opened. Like, all you had to do was go on there and search 3 times on Bing. It was insane. And I accrued like $600 worth of Microsoft credit from doing that. So I already spent it all, but it was great. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. All right. Well, let's talk here about Concord real quick. Gerald, you had sent us something into the chat earlier. What's going on with the Concord development studio?
Well, Jason Schreier, who he always says he's going to get out of the business. He's going to go ahead and just write books, just do this. He's still the best there is when it comes to uncovering all this. But basically, he got hold of a memo from the head of Sony PlayStation here in the US saying that, because of this, blah, 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 because of all the conditions, blah, 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 blah. In other words, they blew it. They didn't understand the marketplace. Unfortunately, a mobile game studio out of Germany and also as well, Firewalk Studios have been shut down. So Firewalk, if you don't know, is the creator of Concord, the very controversial, very short-lived online shooter that spent all of 2 weeks out and about. It came out in a hard copy, but also digital version. The hard copy is, I don't know, probably not that valuable, but it may go back up now that the speculation has now ended on whether or not we are going to get a revised Concord somewhere down the line.
All right, hold on. Let's talk about this for just 1 second, okay?
Oh yes, let's do it.
Today's high sale of Concord, because I thought it was going to skyrocket too, but it went up by about $5. So it's the lowest sale I see here is about $45, and the highest sale is actually a graded copy at $232.50.
Thinking about grading mine. There you go.
46 bids. So obviously there's some people that want this thing.
Yeah, it's a interesting time because I think a lot of people are like, hey, this is maybe the highest it's going to go. I mean, it could go up way more, but it's This is the news that I think I mentioned would happen. I think we all agreed on, right? Like this wasn't coming back. We discussed this last week or the week after, right? Like
There
they
was
weren't
a
going to make it.
segment of the population that thought it might.
Yeah, I think those people were crazy. But it is really, I mean, in some ways it's sad. Like I feel really, really bad for the German
It sends
developers.
a message, Frank. It sends a message to most developers out there that you can't mess up once.
Yeah.
And this game, we look at it, the animation on this game, it's a good looking game.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the surface. It's a good looking game. It runs smooth. Did it really have a problem with bugs? No. Didn't come out with a huge day one patch? No. It just was a meh game.
Yeah.
And the problem is
I think.
Yeah, you just can't come out with a meh game. It's just that simple. I mean, it was a game that was not a terrible game, not a great game. It was a meh game. And unfortunately, in our world, we do not accept meh any longer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel really bad for the German developer of the mobile game who got shuttered, right?
They're collateral damage. Yeah,
they were collateral damage. They didn't even do anything wrong. They just had a mobile game, and now they don't make games. For Firewalk, my feelings are really conflicted, right? Like they raised what it says here that
200 million,
at least 200 million. They said it cost more. The rumor is 400 million. There's no actual proof of that. So we don't know what it cost, but we know well over 200 million, right? And that was what they had raised in 2021 before Sony bought them last April, 2023, right? They bought them a year ago. They made a game that, like you just said, Gerald, has no real issues. It's meh, right? It's not great. They did it at a point in time where no other game was trying to release, somebody would say a budget title, but a priced title in a free-to-play market. And then, just for kicks, I went on there just to look at the characters, right? Because there's been a lot of complaints from people about like, these are like budget knockoff characters. I will say out of the, 16, there's like 5 decent designs. The rest of them are not good. You know what I mean? It would be like if I was coming up with a game and I'm not an artist and I was like, grab some concept art from other people. And I was like, change this. But the person was like, well, he wants it to kind of look like this, like I used to do composition for music and I would like help out score some small, like little indie films that my friends would make. And one of the things they would always give me is they give me like scores to listen to that they liked, right? Like, oh, I want this, right? And they were always happiest when I essentially copied the thing that they wanted. And they were the least happy when I made something new that was very different. Right? Like they liked it when it was identical to the thing that they knew and liked. And I would not be surprised if there were some bad decisions from those people where it was like, hey, make this like, I don't even know what this yellow robot looks like. There's so many different ones. Some people joke it looks like a minion. There's definitely that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy who whistles.
Yep.
There's several Guardians of the Galaxy characters in here. I mean, there's a Drax-like character. There's that guy. There's a character not called Star-Lord, but kind of is that guy, slightly different, right? There's lots of Guardians of the Galaxy characters here. Anyways, they're not unique or interesting, and they're not fun, and that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is they released a whatever game, but you can't just release a whatever game, make a bunch of characters that don't look good, then try to sell for $40 after you've spent $300 million or whatever, right? Like I'm just guessing 300, but we'll say at least $200 million. One last real quick anecdote. When I made my first record, I spent about $10,000 to $15,000 on that. I've sold one copy ever, right? But I didn't spend $200 million of someone else's money. That's the thing that Firewalk Studios did do, right? So while I feel bad for all the developers, all the people who were like on board to make something great. And they did actually, I mean, from everybody who played it, they did great work. The game played really well. I don't feel bad for the guy who came up with the studio and was like, hey, I want to do the most derivative thing ever. Like, I just feel like I don't have pity or empathy for somebody who's like, if somebody stepped to me tomorrow and said, I want to make Call of Duty 2, another Call of Duty, I'm not going to have empathy if that person loses their job. It's just, I mean, copycats are a dime a dozen. Every time a Twisters comes out, there's 4 other Twister-based films that go direct to video. I don't care what happens to the people who don't have original creative thought. And Concord, for all intents and purposes, is a mishmash of already created products done less great. So I feel bad for the people who didn't get to make the decisions that lose their job, but the people who did make those decisions, they should feel bad. They should feel bad they led people.
Herman Hulst is the guy who greenlit this.
Yeah.
From
Well, actually,
PlayStation.
it was made before him, but he bought it. He
Yes,
was the
but
one who-
yeah, he bought into it. He's the one who bought into it.
and
He's
closed
the
them.
one who kept it going. He's the one who could have pulled the plug at any point in time before it got released. But he said, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
And it did. And now he's the one also closing studios. So he gets to go home, get in his car,
millions of dollars.
yeah, drive into his, whatever mansion that he lives in. Everything's good for him. But what happens to the folks at Firewalk? Again,
No, it's I feel, like I said, I apologize about my rant. I feel bad.
all it just takes is one meh or lousy game with a lot of these studios, and they're gone. It's just that simple.
Well,
and that's sad. And that's very sad because before in the past, like when Josh and I, even before were playing games, you and I were, 2000s. Studios in the 2000s were allowed to mess up once or twice before they were able.
But the budgets are so much bigger. We're playing with a way bigger game. What they should have done, and I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. We're armchair or I'm being an armchair quarterback right now. They could have done a lower budget game for the first game from this company. A lot of people don't want to do that.
But they were, like you said, they were in the process of creating this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to ask you guys. Like, do you think that, because there are a lot of, it's like mediocre shooters out there that have, a campaign at least that lasts, 5 or 6 hours. And it's got a multiplayer that doesn't revolve or rely on the live service model, and it still floats out there. Hasn't been canceled or anything. Like, there are games out there that are allowed like that are allowed to exist. Do you think if they would have gone that way with this, that it would have had, I mean, not like a longer life, but it would have been something that at least gained a little bit of profit back?
I mean, it could have at least survived. They didn't have to pull it offline. I mean, Concord will be like Song of the South. I mean, you're essentially, even crazier than Song of the South because you can never play Concord again. Concord will only live in video form. That's how crazy it is. If they would have just released a single player or anything else with it, or some offline multiplayer even, like, I think you could still play the original Titanfall. I could be wrong about that, but you could at least play Titanfall 2, right? Because there's that campaign. The problem when you do these games where they decide to do like a multiplayer shooter only, and this goes for Apex Legends, Fortnite, all those games too, when the fan base leaves, the game ends and there's nothing for you left. All the money you spent, everything that you've done in there, it's over. So hopefully you enjoyed the ride because the ride's done. Now, Concord's ride was just incredibly short. So, but yeah, they should have done, truly, I think if they would have done a single player campaign, I think a lot more of the Sony people who enjoy Sony games would have got behind it. And I think truly what their problem is they decided to do something that is not one of their strengths. As for all intents and purposes, the company's supposed to be very good, but they decided to enter a market at a time when, there's so many issues. We could literally go on about this for days, whether it's the economy or 90 other things. But I really felt like this was a big mistake from the higher ups, from the people who decided to make this game, from the people at Sony who decided to purchase this studio, and then from the people who decided, hey, we actually, we're going to take backs. We're going to go back, and we bought you a year ago, but now you all lose your jobs. So yeah, that stuff stinks. Sorry, I didn't mean to blather on about it, but it just, I get frustrated.
What you're saying is true. It's true though. Sony had the power probably to intervene in the production of the game, and they chose not to. And now they kind of are blaming the failure on the studio itself when Sony, it was a Sony product. So they could have, like I said, they could have stopped production or, put it off into another direction, and they didn't do that. But it's easy for them just to shutter a studio and say like, oh, hey, this is not our fault, it was their fault. And that's the perception that comes across.
And realistically, how likely is it that we're going to look at Herman Hulst the same way we looked at Jim Ryan, with kind of despised? Because Herman Hulst right now is greenlit, 3 Horizon games on top of the one for like a series that no one, there's not a ton of diehards for. I get that he was part of it. He's, the head of Guerrilla Games. They made Killzone before that, which they're never going to touch again, I guess, because it didn't make enough money.
That's a shame.
Yeah, they'll probably never do a Killzone again, which kind of stinks,
Or
right? You're like,
Resistance.
yeah.
Who made Resistance? That was
Sucker
Insomniac, right?
Punch, right? Oh no, Insomniac. Yeah, you're
No,
right.
Insomniac made that. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't go back to that, because that was actually a really great franchise.
Yeah, but I mean, we're probably never going to see Guerrilla Games, at least not never. I shouldn't say never, but for a while, we're not going to see them do anything that's not Horizon. And I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty tired of Horizon. I feel like the people who are even like big Horizon fans are kind of tired of Horizon. So I don't know. I'm curious if by the time Herman Holst is done being the president, I think he's the president, maybe he's the CEO. He's the CEO. I think we might not look back on him as fondly as we once did. Just because, like, I think everybody was excited to get Jim Ryan out of there. But I believe this was a Herman Holst decision to both buy Firewalk Studios and to shutter them, from what I've heard. Or read, I should say.
Yeah, that's I mean, rip rest in peace.
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, there's I don't even know how many people. I forgot. I feel like it's a couple hundred, but there's a couple hundred people now who have to look for a job, right? In an incredibly difficult job market, because a bunch of people who had a lot of money and convinced these other people to be like, hey, we're going to make the same game as everybody else, but we're going to make more money than them. I was reading that Jason Schreier book, and they had the same thought process when they made Heroes of the Storm. I don't know if you guys remember that MOBA that they made that released after Dota 2 and League of Legends. It doesn't really exist anymore. I think it's playable. But that's exactly their thought process, was like, oh, we're going to do this thing after people, and we're going to make more money. It doesn't work well often.
Yeah. All right. Well, so on that note, let's switch over to Xbox here for a minute. EA, sorry, with Dragon Age Veilguard. For some reason, I think Xbox owned. They don't own EA.
I play all my EA games on Game Pass now. So
that's for some reason I kept thinking, because I keep seeing them on Gamescast in my head. I'm like, oh,
EA.
Xbox must own BioWare. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, BioWare is another one that was bleeding money, and now Veilguard's coming out, and the critics are all. I think IGN gave it a 9, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
But there's a lot of controversy over some of these critic ratings. So what are you guys' thoughts on?
It's got an 84 right now as far as on Metacritic.
Yeah, I mean,
take it first, Gerald. I have some stuff to say.
Well, the thing is, because I'm looking on Metacritic. Metacritic is where I go to, and Josh knows this, because a lot of times on the air I'll say this is the Metacritic score, because I use that as a basis from across the entire landscape of who's actually giving reviews on it. For instance, Life is Strange Double Exposure just came out as well this week. That was given a 9 by IGN, but the overall Metacritic is 73. So obviously there's a lot of like across the, all over the place. That's as far as across the board ideas on it. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, 85 is the Metacritic, which for a Call of Duty game, as we just talked about, is a pretty damn good score for a Call of Duty. It has not been that high in quite some time. So
that's when something like that, though, is a genuine score. Like I'm seeing a lot of whispers going around the internet of people, not so much accusing, but maybe like hinting at the fact that there might be some like paid reviews going on here in the case of.
It's interesting. Well, then you look at it. Another thing to look at is how many reviews have they gotten of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Strangely, and I'm only saying it's because
16. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's 16. But maybe that's because they want to go ahead and give the review on it as a total package, as opposed to what.
And they didn't send it early. Yeah,
and did because they wanted to be first, so they gave you the campaign first, then they give you the multiplayer first, next, and then they give you the zombies. I guess a lot of them are waiting to go ahead and give you a full package score, which I definitely respect that. But there's 51 critic reviews already, Josh, on Dragon Age. So 84 is a pretty strong indication that it's a solid game. It's a really, really solid game that people should be interested in playing.
Yeah, there's the thing that I'm always curious about, right? Because so if you look at GameSpot, they gave it a 7. I ended up watching the reviewer for IGN.
That game looks beautiful, by the way.
Dragon Age?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it does. It does look really good.
Look incredible.
I will say there's some stuff to look for. So there's a well-known reviewer on YouTube called Skill Up, right? And I watched Skill Up's review because I watched a lot of the IGN one. I'm like, wow, is this going to be unanimous? Is Dragon Age the Veilguard going to be one of the best games of the year? Let me go. And I searched review, right? And Skill Up is a very, very popular YouTuber. I mean, this video has over 1 million views, 1.2 million. And one of the things Skill Up started with that made me a little bit concerned, especially in the modern age, is this perfect quote. And I watched a lot of his video, and it seemed to definitely mirror this. He said, "Every interaction sounds like HR is in the room." And from all the interactions I saw in Dragon Age the Veilguard, they all had this tone of like kind of meandering pointlessness, right? Like one is you kind of play a parent to these your compatriots or whatever, where they argue about their pets or things like that, and there's doesn't seem to be a lot of substance. And the thing that made me a little bit concerned with like the validity of the IGN review is there is a lot of politics in modern games, right? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong.
Well, this
with
goes
it.
back to the old days of the music industry and payola, as far as record companies paying to get their music out to listeners.
But it's so dumb because like eventually, if in the case, I don't know what with Dragon Age, but in the case of like paying people to review things, eventually that thing is going to get out, and people are going to find out that it's actually not as good as everyone was saying it was.
Well, one, I don't think Veilguard's going to be the worst game ever. I am worried that the views are slightly inflated. Did you guys play Baldur's Gate 3 from last year?
No.
Did either of you play it, Gerald?
I want to, but
it's a hard game to get into.
It's a commitment from what I'm hearing.
Anyways, it won the best game of the year, right? And different strokes for different folks. I didn't love it as much as other people do. I didn't hate it. I would have liked to put more time, but it's a very slow burn, had a lot of decision and choice. But a lot of the reviewers, like one of the things I noticed really, really early on when the game came out is they were really, really excited about being able to have sex with a bear. Like that was kind of like one of the big article comments over and over and over again, right? It's like, you could do this. And a lot of it was about sexuality and all of that stuff. And the reviewer who's on IGN is an individual who has some of that stuff going on too. And there is a big sexual preference, identity preference choice that happens, I guess, in Dragon Age Veilguard that I'm wondering if some of that stuff plays a part, right? Like if I'm somebody who I'm not being spoken to, right? Like, cause I'm an outsider or different. And then I have this game where they do this big scene that speaks to me. Does that affect the way I review it? Because that was something I noticed in a couple of the reviews was about the non-binary, middle section where they do that. And that was, I guess, mentioned in the IGN review as well from one of our friends. So anyways, I just wonder if that's the point, because like with the Skill Up review, the thing I liked was there was nothing talked about politics. There was no like, oh, this is woke. This isn't woke. It was just talking about like, hey, here's the game. It's really linear. The enemies are spongy. You don't actually make really any decisions for the most part. They took away most of the decision-making from, at least that's what he said. I haven't played it. So it sounds like most of the decisions don't matter. So it does make me wonder like who to trust, right? Because it's not like it's 2s and 3s and 9s and 10s. I think it's probably a really well-made game.
But it's also a matter of perception as well. Yeah. When you play these games, it's like any form of entertainment or art. It's how you perceive whatever it is that you're experiencing.
Right. And that goes to the bigger question. Like when this is released, how is the common gamer going to perceive it? Because I mean, you're right. There are a lot of, I guess you'd call them identity politics in games now. And it's hard to say.
Josh, our major disagreement of all time, King Arthur. You think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I think it's absolutely one of the worst pieces of drag I've ever seen.
I'm gonna lean with Gerald. I didn't finish it, but it didn't seem very good. I don't know if it's like as bad as Gerald thinks. Like I watched some of it. I thought it was fine. But it was like I didn't finish it.
Charlie,
right? And
you gotta admit, Josh, Charlie Hunnam looked bored. He looked really bored.
So I mean, this is a whole other rabbit trail here, but he actually said if there was one movie in his career that he could redo, it would be that one because I guess there's something happening behind the scenes that was really messing everything up. So
There was some
I
bad
mean,
green screening.
yeah,
It was.
I would want to see a redo. I would definitely give another chance. I don't know. I
The
like Guy
only
Ritchie.
time, Frank, we've ever had an argument on the air was for King Arthur, and we just kept
Really?
bringing up for years. Yes.
So for me, Josh and I don't agree on a lot of things. I think Alita Battle Angel is a pretty bad film. Like I laughed when I thought that
I
Josh liked
forgot.
it.
I forgot I
Um,
enjoyed that.
yeah,
I would
there's
give it a slight thumbs up. I like it better than you did, but I don't think it's like
yeah,
you know. I'm
we
not giving it an Academy Award win. You know, those eyes. Yes.
yes. I don't even
It's
know
played
how
by
I ended
James
up.
Cameron, guys. He's just poops gold.
Yeah, I just
I
don't
got
even know
beyond
how
the eyes. I thought it was actually okay.
I don't even
Okay.
know how I ended up at that movie, to be honest with you. Like it was so like it's not a movie. The group I went with, none of us watch anime, and I guess it's a manga, and it just wasn't that exciting. Maybe if you were a big fan of the manga, I'm sure it's there. But anyways, Josh and I don't agree on a lot of different things. But King Arthur, like I said, I didn't finish it. I did finish the World of Warcraft movie, just to give you an example of what I'm willing to finish, and I think I may have enjoyed that more than King
I
Arthur.
saw that in
So,
Orlando.
yeah,
My wife still likes it to this day. She actually rewatched it earlier
I
this year on
I think
Netflix.
it's better than King Arthur.
I don't remember any of it.
I liked it when it came out. It was fine. It was not as bad as everybody talked about. It was not
It
a good movie, but it
had
wasn't
like
like the worst thing ever.
it had the
I
guy from Vikings in it. That's all I remember
I
about
think
it.
I was green when I was coming out of the
Yeah.
theater. I'll
Oh,
just say
you're
that.
sick. I love I'm a big fan of Duncan Moon,
Is
David
that
Bowie's
'cause
son.
Daryl
Or
cosplayed as
Duncan.
Shrek when he went into Warcraft?
No, I was actually as me. I came out as Shrek after watching that movie.
What's David Bowie's son's name? Duncan Jones.
Yeah.
I really liked Moon, the movie he did with Sam.
Oh
I
yeah, that
can't
was a
Sam
good
Rockwell.
one.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. That movie's incredible. So I was already kind of a big fan of his. The World of Warcraft movie got dunked on so hard that I went in with next to no expectations. And honestly, I thought it was way better than people said.
I
think
thought
it's
it was
way
actually
better
going to
than
have a
Sharknado.
sequel, to be honest with you, because it made around
Yeah.
450 million dollars worldwide, and I thought that was just enough. Like the Uncharted movie. The Uncharted movie and the Warcraft movie made around the same worldwide, but yet Uncharted was the one that got greenlit for a sequel. Go
Yeah, I
figure.
was kind of. I think the World of Warcraft movie probably cost more, and they probably saw diminishing
Fans were
returns.
more-
I mean, there's less
Yeah.
subs for WoW nowadays than ever. Uncharted, I
Holland.
feel like. What?
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
You know he has something to do with it as well. This was his.
Yeah.
This is his. I guess. I
Uncharted?
want to do this project. I want to be Nathan Drake. There you
Yeah.
go.
I actually thought the Uncharted movie was pretty fun. I don't think it's like an all-time. I don't think it's as good as the Last of Us TV show when it comes to like gaming. You know, what's the best gaming media or Fallout, right? But I thought it was fine. We watched it on a streaming service. I enjoyed it. It's like a Oceansy style heist film. Definitely not as good as the Oceans films. But do you know what I mean? And they just don't make a lot of those, so I'm always a big fan when they do come out.
All right.
But
So
sorry, didn't mean to
no, you're
subtract.
good. You're good.
Anyways,
No,
about Dragon Age,
good.
just to wrap back around real quick, I am gonna probably pick it up at some point, but I will say I'm probably gonna hold off. And a big reason why I'm holding off has less to do with identity politics and more to do with I thought it was semi-open. I did not know it was a ultra linear game. When I found that out, I was a little bit disappointed that they removed like all of the openness from Inquisition. So I don't want another God of War. And not that I hate God of War, but I just don't really want it to be that game. And that's what it seems like it is.
You just don't expect that from a BioWare game. So I mean, either it's possible they took away a lot of like the openness of it because they're trying to tell a more concise
the
story.
Mako?
Or give me the Mako. Right. Honestly, I'm one of those Mass Effect 1 Mako defenders. I loved that game. And I even still this day was like, hey, I had a blast driving the Mako. People are always like, that sucked. It's the worst thing ever. And I think they brought it back in 3, but I actually really, really enjoyed everything about Mass Effect 1. When that game came out, I was like, this is insanely good. Everybody being like, the Mako is bad. Those are all the gummy ship is bad people too. I'm like, guys, let people try dumb stuff in games.
Don't even get me started on the gummy ship. I love the Mako, but the gummy ships, man, like Those
You were a
pissed
gummy
me
ship
off to
stan. You
no
love gummy
end.
ships.
I
You eat
could
'em.
not
Nom, 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 nom,
stand
nom.
it. Yeah. I remember getting online and like ranting about it, and everyone just kept saying, "You just don't understand what they're trying to do." They're trying to irritate me, and they succeeded.
The gummy ship is not nearly as bad as the people who hate it think it is. It's not good, but it's just so funny to see people get so angry about it. It's not as bad as Kingdom Hearts 3 not letting you save anywhere. Anyways, I didn't mean to detract us. It's hard because I'm a big Dragon Age Inquisition fan. And even the IGN reviewer, take out all the identity politics. One of the first things they mention is this is not as, or we all thought Dragon Age Inquisition was good at the time. We were wrong. It's not so good. Right. So it's like, oh, if you
That was their game of
disagree-
the year, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yes, yeah, but for this reviewer, they were saying that it's not as good as we remember. And I
wow.
disagree. I think it's a good one. I actually liked it. So we're already starting on a different footing.
That's where I get
I wish I
worried
could have
that-
gotten more into it than I did. I tried it again earlier this year.
It's hard to
on
get
Game
into
Pass.
nowadays.
It's hard. It's hard.
But I did love it. But yeah, just this opening line, this is why I checked the other reviewer. With the game coming in the wake of the debacle that was Anthem, itself preceded by Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, which were both merely all right in hindsight. I understand that thought, especially for Mass Effect Andromeda, but Dragon Age Inquisition was so much better than 2. It's not even close. It's like, yeah, Dragon Age Origins is the best, but Dragon Age 2 was bad. So Dragon Age Inquisition being like a good game, man, I'm already like, man, it's crazy to think that people thought it was that bad. But anyways,
if you're trying to inflate a game in the beginning if you're trying to inflate a game by deflating other games that you actually rated really high, that's what gives me concern about this. But then, I'm someone who I'm going to play it and, build my own opinion off of it. But I don't, it feels like there's an agenda at play when you do something like that. It doesn't feel honest, I guess.
Yeah, it just, for me, there's like there's a lot of stuff that I just don't, I paused from like hey, I'm super hyped on this, I can't wait to play it, to like, man, do I want to do this 80-hour game right now? And the truth is, no. I'm playing Metaphor, I'm playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I will probably wait, and EA games go on sale. They're no Ubisoft games, but they will go on sale. This will probably be $45 in, my guess is 2 to 3 months. So maybe I'll pick it up when it's that price.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So let's talk about the Wii U for a quick moment here. We're talking about the Xenoblade Chronicles. Is it X or 10 coming out?
X just got announced for Nintendo Switch in March of next year.
Yeah. So I know we're talking about how pretty much every major Wii U game has been ported onto the Switch. So
can I give you a quick rundown of what's left kind of to go?
Please do.
So the major titles left to be ported if they want to have every game on Nintendo Switch. That was like the big Nintendo titles. Star Fox Zero for Wii U, which is supposed to be not good. The NES Remix Pack, which is kind of like a WarioWare take on the Championship Edition that came out this summer. Paper Mario Color Splash, which was like that weird turn-based adventure game because it's not really an RPG for the Paper Mario. Yoshi's Woolly World, which I thought was on Switch, but I guess it's different than the Crafted World.
Crafted Yarn. Yeah, Crafted Yarn, I think.
The 2 Zelda ports, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, which I guess are remasters. An Animal Crossing like board game, and then a bunch of third parties like Watch Dogs and games that are already on tons of other things, and Kirby's Canvas and like a game in Wario, not even like a really full WarioWare game. And then honestly, the best game, which I don't think will ever get ported, is Nintendo Land, because that game required the gamepad.
That's what I was going to ask. How many of the games that you named, you have to use some function on the gamepad to play them or to make them, play fun?
So the most likely games to come over still left are going to be the Yoshi's game and the 2 Zelda ports. You could bring Paper Mario, but Color Splash was not well liked. But in terms of what needs the gamepad, just Star Fox Zero and the game in Wario, which was like the kind of WarioWare-esque game. The Kirby game would be a pain because you have to draw the path onto, so you could do it on the Switch, but it's just a little bit harder. And then the Nintendo Land requires it. So there's like 5 games that just realistically aren't coming. It's just too much work.
So knowing all this, knowing that these games have yet to be ported, may or may not be ported. I mean, we don't know when the Switch 2 is coming out, so we
Yeah.
might have a bunch of ports coming out before then. Do you think that leaves any collectability? We were talking about collectability with Concord. Do you think this leaves any collectability for the Wii U? Because that's the one console I've seen that the price has not really fluctuated much in terms of these secondhand sellers.
What do you think, Gerald, actually, about like the pricing of the Wii U and whether the fact that most of these games are on the Switch is going to lower its value?
I think that at some point in time, people will come to appreciate it. A lot of people said the same thing about the GameCube, and look where it is now. GameCube is one of
fair.
the premier collecting Nintendo lines of games that's out there. I think
Still today, some of the most expensive games to buy from resellers.
Yeah, so I think the
Really?
Wii U eventually will find that home. Like, for how long did it take the 360 to find some interest from, only recently in the past, 2 years has Xbox 360 really started to get its appreciation from collectors. It's obviously, it's obvious that in the past decade, collecting for video games has become a business, has become, a priority for a lot of people. And so it just takes time for these, lines of games to get the appreciation they so justly deserve. And obviously Nintendo, that was Nintendo NES system and 64. Those were the two that were really going to get the love first. We finally saw what Genesis and some others finally started to get some appreciation, Dreamcast, etc., etc. Now PlayStation 2 wasn't even on that initial thrust of collecting. It was just Nintendo oriented. Now we're seeing where the PlayStation 2, PlayStation, and also Xbox 360, and I'm eventually thinking Wii U will get their time in the sun as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Wii U is kind of like a fan favorite in a lot of ways, but for me, I don't really see the value, but I'm not a collector. I do think one of the nice things about the Wii U is if you want to get a full complete set of the Nintendo first party titles, I feel like Wii U is a very doable console because they didn't release that many games. But I also don't really see the value of having it when every single major title that they released is essentially on the Switch at this point. I don't know. For me, I've never collected anything, so it's always functionality over like the value of something. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting because this Xenoblade Chronicles X has long been one of the games where people are like, this is only on Wii U. They had that for a few other titles, but those Zelda games are from other consoles to begin with. You could buy them both on GameCube.
It's so funny because Devil's Third was a game that it was actually somewhat plentiful around the time that it came out, around the time of the Wii U. And now look at it. It's one of the rarest games on the Wii U. It's worth at least $250, depending on where you're looking at. I popped it in, the link in the chat. So I think there's just some of the Wii U will get appreciated. You're right. Some of the crossover stuff, no, I don't think it'll hold its value at all. But there's some stuff like Devil's Third, some exclusive stuff, maybe the original. Well, not even Bayonetta to that point. Even though the Bayonetta series really got its mark on the Wii U, it's going to be some selected games. But I think it will take some time for people to appreciate the Wii U for what it was. I just wish we would have known at that time. I mean, I've told the story for the E3 that they debuted. I was just sitting at the Nokia Theater. My rest of my crew was all asleep because they couldn't care less about it. There was this unveiling. Nintendo was so excited. And then unfortunately, look what happened to it. It was, and I think it will be thought of at, historians going forward as a system that was probably ahead of its time, that people just didn't get. But unfortunately, now a lot of that technology is now a regular part of what we do in gaming.
And it's small. It's more compact too.
Yeah.
So Xenoblade Chronicles X, you gonna pick up a copy, Gerald or Branky?
I'm not a big Xenoblade fan.
It's been
I
really
own
hard
all
to
of
get
them, and
into.
I
Never played
Those
them.
games have such high collectability though. So I have Xenoblade, the definitive edition, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I haven't finished either of them. You know, I end up starting them. I get like 4 or 5 hours into them, and for some reason just stop. But
X the special edition, by the way, is
yeah,
the one that's
okay.
collectible.
But
Oh, okay.
these games hold value really well. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think the cheapest copy I've seen on eBay is probably around 80 to 90 bucks. And you know, that was a $60 title when it came out. So, you know, if that tells you anything, you have it 3 or 4 years from now, the value is probably only going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably pick it up only because I have the other 3 on Switch, right? But it is a game where it's like I always lie to myself that I'll actually play it, and then I never get around to it. You know, it's just they are 80+ hour RPGs in a world where there are so many fun, fast 80+ hour RPGs to play, on top of games I never finished. I never finished Red Dead Redemption 2, right? I don't know what you guys, if you finished it or how far you got. I had a lot of issues with that game when it came out. I thought it was plain boring. But I come to enjoy it, and I'd like to finish it, right? So it's like, it's hard to think about, let me go through all the Xenoblade games. But that being said, Nintendo has that deal I mentioned where if you spend $100, you get 2 vouchers, and you can get the $100 for $90 from Costco. So for $90, you can get 2 digital games, right? So you can get them for $45 each. And maybe I'll do that and get Donkey Kong Country and Xenoblade or something. I don't know. We'll see. There's still a lot of other games that they'll probably have releasing next year with the hopeful Switch 2.
All right, last thing I want to get in before we call it a night here. Gerald, you had mentioned the Indiana Jones and the something circle.
Great Circle.
Great Circle.
And the Great Circle of Doom.
Should know more about this, but what did you think about the gameplay footage they put out?
The latest gameplay footage just makes me even more excited. Again, I'm a huge backer of what the Wolfenstein creator, id Software, that they've just done a tremendous job before in the past. I love the Wolfenstein games, and they could have easily gone down the same road of just run and gun. And I know that's what you talk about. Do you pick up a pistol? You can use a pistol. You can use various weapons in the game, for what I'm told, as far as guns, various guns, what that you have the ability to go ahead and use. But doing so may not always be in your best interest, because it may alert too many bad guys to your location and get overwhelming. So they're treating it more in the sense of a stealth game, which I think to a lot of people might be very interesting to see. But just the way that he's going to get himself tied into this adventure, it emulates some of the best, I feel so far from what I've seen, some of the best of Indiana Jones instead of some of the worst of Indiana Jones that I've seen.
And I'm wondering if this, I think Machine Games.
Machine Games, yes.
I think they were originally Starbreeze, which made Chronicles of Riddick. I want to say this was that team. So
yeah, I said it's software. It is Machine Games.
Yeah. Oh, you're good. But I think that makes me a lot more hopeful, because it does seem it's not going to be about like gunning, which the Wolfenstein games were. But like Riddick, if you remember, I don't even think there's a gun in that game. No, everything is first-person melee combat.
Yeah.
Oh,
but so I like the Wolfenstein games because you go run and gun. But for those reasons, I just like the dynamics and their storytelling that Machine Games put out there in the Wolfenstein games. But I really think that type of philosophy wouldn't fit 100% in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, because he only uses his pistol during certain key moments of each of the films. And in doing so, I think it makes it much more special. And for the most part, fist fighting, using the whip, using stuff in the environment that you could pick up and hit people with, those are things that are more akin to what Indiana Jones did. And like I said, the better movies, number 1 and 3 in the actual pantheon of Indiana Jones films.
Do you know what'd be cool is if they had like in God of War, how you could use a tray, is if they had a function that lets you use what's his name, Short Round.
Oh yeah,
you have him going. Yeah, that would have been pretty rad.
Oh man, that would be funny if they did just for like one level, just kind of like to mimic and mock God of War. Just because I hated how, and this is something that Sony did for the last few major games, where they would either have the character speak out loud or have other people just solve puzzles for you. And it became like a thing that a lot of games did. I hate that so much. I hate the idea of walking into a room and someone's like, "Hey, look over there," and you're like, can I have like a second to try to figure out where I am before you solve the puzzle in the game? The only thing I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think so. There's some sort of update to a more recent game that took a lot of that stuff out because people were complaining about it.
Yeah, they did that for, I think it was Ragnarok. I don't know
Yeah.
if they ever fixed it for Forbidden West, but yeah, they let you choose how frequent the solutions or the tips were, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, the cool thing about Game Pass is like I don't have to be ultra excited or willing to invest. Like it's gonna pop up on the service. So I'm gonna download it and play it. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing I've dug about Microsoft's thing. Now I still love, I've argued this in previous episodes. Like I still love the idea of people buying games. I'm still thankful lots of games come out at price and not everything's a subscription, because then I'd be in the hell I'm in when I try to find a movie and I have to go through 10 subscription services to find whatever I'm trying to watch. And then if it's not there, I just don't watch it. I'm thankful that this is the kind of the only real subscription service. The others are kind of not working, right? Ubisoft and the EA one aren't doing super well on their own. So, and I'm glad Sony's still doing the premium model and Nintendo's still doing the premium model, because it does make this feel special, right? Like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is a special game. I didn't have to pay for it. I'm having a blast.
Yeah. I mean, and it sounds like between now and Christmas, we'll be getting a lot more to mess around with too. So that's good.
Yeah, the other stuff we discussed it last week, but like Flight Sim and there's another big one in November that I can't remember, or another Microsoft one in November.
Yeah.
Well, before we go though, getting back to the Wii U real quickly.
Okay.
What is the preface? Did they get a fair shake from Nintendo? So in your minds, do you think the Nintendo Wii U was shut down too early? Do you think it had more of a future, or do you think it was just closed at the right time?
I mean, I personally think it should have been closed earlier than it was. I think the Wii U was pretty much the test prototype for what we have today. The gamepad was not as functional as the Switch is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they were trying to milk as much money out of it as they can, because I mean that's why they were double developing games for it when the Switch came out. They had that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so do you mean that the fact that Nintendo was making 3DS games and Wii U games, or do you mean the fact that Nintendo was re-releasing games that were on the Wii U on the Switch? Sorry, just want to be clear.
No, they released was it Breath of the Wild came out on Wii U, Breath of the Wild came out on Switch. They were putting things out on both consoles, and I think that they were hoping to get as much money out of that as they could before they shut it down.
Well, should they have held out the Switch and see if they could get more lifespan out the Wii U?
No, I think those 13 million that they sold was already a gargantuan Herculean effort. I bought one when they announced Breath of the Wild, and I turned it on, I think a total of like 10 times. I finished Shovel Knight. That was the only game I actually played on it. It was a failed console, and in my mind, and it was cumbersome. It took forever to load. The eShop was worse off. The fact that you had to go to a separate place for the Wii, there was just so many annoyances. I could nitpick that console to death. I am so thankful that they made the Switch. It is just, now we don't have two Nintendo consoles we have to buy games for. A handheld and a home console.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is it for the night. I think you guys any closing comments you want to make here?
Play COD.
Yes, play COD. Jump in the chat next time and tell us about it. Tell us about your experiences. This has been another action-packed episode of the Super BS Gamescast, a podcast about video games mostly, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Super.
BS.